Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me for another Zoo to You here at Franklin Park Zoo. My name is Amanda and I am here with our friend Ernie. Before we get into that, today's Zoo to You is brought to you by MIFA on behalf of the You Fund College Investing Plan. So Ernie, my friend here, is a prehensile-tailed skink. You might have maybe recognized him from other past Zoo to Yous. He is a long-time Franklin Park Zoo resident that is now officially a part of our ambassador animal program, which is really exciting, which is why we're actually featuring him today on his actual brand new perch that we have here. I'll talk a little bit about that towards the end of our Zoo to You, but I'll give you a little information and kind of fun facts about blue tongues or prehensile-tailed skinks as well. So prehensile-tailed skinks are from the Solomon Islands, which are super unique and very, very far away from here. They're actually found around north of Australia. So they are super inclusive and they're just very unique islands. So these guys are found in the rainforest on those islands and really, really high up in trees. So their entire bodies have been adapted to live in those high rainforest trees. So one of the most important adaptations of prehensile-tailed skinks is where their name comes from as well. You see that beautiful long prehensile tail. So prehensile is kind of a weird word. You might have heard it used with other animals as well. It basically means when their tail has a lot of flexibility and they can use it to grab onto things, be able to balance themselves. You may see these types of tails with maybe an opossum that you might find in your backyard. That is a really important function of that animal, as well as a really important function for our skink here. So because he's found in trees, balance and holding on with grip is really important. So that tail is very essential for him. Also, he does have an adaptation on his claws as well. It's a little hard to tell on this perch, but he actually has, it almost kind of looks like, it's not a thumb itself, but it actually has a little bit of an extension so they can grasp on to branches just like he is right now, which is super important for him. So being, zookeepers or animal care specialists, one of our jobs is to make sure we give our animals environments and habitats that allow them to use these adaptations every day. So this is an example of us giving that to Ernie right now. There are some really interesting things about prehensile-tailed skinks that make them really unique. One of them being is that they actually give live births to their young, which is super rare for a reptile. Most reptiles lay eggs and then their babies are born that way. Live birth is something super unique that these skinks do as well. And what's even more unique about these guys too is that usually the dads will help raise the young when they're really small too. So prehensile-tailed skinks can be social animals. Ernie does live on his own at the zoo. He actually used to have a companion that lived here who passed away a few years ago. It's not uncommon for them to be found by themselves, but they can choose to live in those social groups as well. So for breeding, that's really important, and for raising their young. And then once their baby is a little more grown up after a few months, definitely not longer than a year, they will go off on their own and maybe even find their own mate or other skinks to live with. So that's one of my favorite things about skinks is that they actually have that father figure in their lives helping them being raised versus a mom. And even so, the mom and the dad will both help protect the young, which is super rare to see in a species like a reptile for sure, even some mammals too. So these guys also are the largest skink that you can find. We do have a blue-tongued skink that lives with us that's quite smaller than Ernie. So that's a great example of how much bigger Ernie is. And these guys are also truly herbivores, so they do not eat any meat whatsoever. They're only going to eat different plants and vegetables. Ernie gets some zucchini every day. He gets a lot of leafy greens. Those are all really good foods to keep them nice and healthy. Nora, are there any questions in the comments at all?
Not so far, but I think a lot of people are thinking that Ernie is very cute, and I agree.
So yeah, Ernie is super cute. He's looking really, really handsome on his perch right here. Now you might be thinking, how old is Ernie? Ernie is a lot older than you think he would be, and he's actually even older than the life expectancy of most skinks. So Ernie is a whopping 23 years old, and their average lifespan tends to be about 20. So when animals live under human care, just like Ernie does here at Franklin Park Zoo, they tend to live over their life expectancies because we are giving them so much preventative care each and every day. They're getting a well-balanced diet. We're keeping track of their weight. We're making sure they get vitamins and all those things they would never get in their natural environment. And of course, there's no predators here at the zoo. So that's definitely a big one that's going to allow them to live much longer. So like I said, he has this beautiful perch right here you're gonna see. This is actually his first time on his perch, so you guys are getting to experience something really exciting. And what's even more exciting about this perch is one of our amazing volunteers, Tanya, created this on her own. So I'm gonna pull Tanya up here to kind of talk a little bit about how she made this, what was the inspiration, and a little bit about that experience.
Well, the inspiration was Amanda had mentioned that they were looking for a new perch because the old perch they were looking for something more natural. And so based on looking at the old perch, which was made out of PVC, Amanda and I came up with an idea of going out into the yard and, well, with Amy too, and looking for some branches that would be suitable for the skink. And basically, we came up with a bunch of branches, which I took home, and I picked what I thought would be the best one for Ernie. And I created a base using the same premises as a Christmas tree stand. And it's a circular base, and it has a PVC that's attached into a flange. And I decided that that was the best way to go, so that in the future, if we wanted to change out the branch, it could easily be changed out by just putting a new branch into the PVC opening, like you would a Christmas tree. And the arrangements of the leaves and everything, they are fake, they're artificial, and I did that for the purpose of cleanliness, that if we needed to clean them for any reason, or I thought that would be a better option than something that needed to be constantly changed if they were live foliage. And so it looks like Ernie is pretty happy on it, and that makes me really happy.
Yeah, he's really showing off his great adaptations right now. I almost did not trust him, and then I had to remember that he does have that nice, awesome prehensile tail to help him navigate. So this is exactly what we were looking for Ernie, as a way to show off his really awesome skills and adaptations, which he's doing a great job of today. So yeah, we want to thank Tanya for all the work she has put into helping build this perch. We definitely could have not done as great of a job without her today. And if you do have any interest in becoming one of our volunteers at the zoo, feel free to check out our website for opportunities like that. We can always use extra help at the zoo, and even any special talents that you might have as well.
So we see that he's kind of on this perch hanging out by himself, and we did have a question from Luke who wants to know how heavy he is and if he likes to be held, or maybe does he prefer kind of hanging out on this perch by himself.
So Ernie is pretty light. He can kind of hold into our hand very easily. I will say he does have those really nice sharp claws that you can kind of see on him that help him grasp onto those branches. So we can hold him in our hand, but we choose not to most of the time, especially now that we have this great perch, because this allows him a little bit more of choice and freedom during educational programs, and it allows him to show off his natural adaptations a lot more versus if he was just on our hand. So that's why we choose to use this type of presentation versus just holding him. But he definitely can if need to be. He's pretty good to be handled and interacted with.
And we also got a question from Dominic who wants to know what Ernie's favorite treat is.
I would say zucchini probably is his favorite.
Ooh, good choice, Ernie. And Christina would like to know how Ernie came to live at Franklin Park Zoo.
So I don't know too much specifically about Ernie's story, but I do know that prehensile-tailed skinks do have what we call a species survival program that they are a part of. So if you've heard other zoo to use, you might have heard that term before, but it's basically when different accredited zoos come together and make sure that we're breeding specific animals, that they can live under human care and be able to have them all across zoos so they can be great ambassadors for their species. So that's how we get a lot of our animals, is through that program, and making sure that all of our animals that are breeding are nice and healthy. We're spreading that gene pool around to make sure we have a great future of different ambassador species all around the country. But Ernie's been with us for quite some time. Like I said, clearly has exceeded his life expectancy, which is great.
Awesome. And Christina would also like to know if these guys come in any other colors, or is this a pretty normal color for a prehensile-tailed skink?
This is a pretty normal color, and what's really cool about the leaves that you see that Tanya shows as well, these are all artificial, is that it kind of helps, you can see he kind of blends in with them, even like the patterns that he has on his scales. So this is a really great color for them to blend into their natural environment, which would be another great defense mechanism that they would use in their natural environment. You can even see how his colors even blend in to this perching right here too. So it's definitely not an accident that he is this color.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tanya, for the beautiful perch, and Ernie for showing off his climbing skills. And thank you, Amanda, for telling us a little bit about him.
Yeah, definitely.